Hey, Ma, listen. She won't stop crying. Can you just tell me how to talk?
It's going to be interesting to see how Rocky Balboa has prepared Creed for what is surely to become.
Is Creed 3 the end of the line for the whole franchise? Stallone is out, and it'll have a lot of competition at the box office. So, brace for impact. Here's why it'll be the worst of the trilogy.
Okay?
I'll start with the biggest reason. Stallone won't be turning out for the premiere. So, we've all heard the story by now, right? He and Irwin Winkler have had a long-standing feud about the Rocky franchise, and it goes back all the way to 1976. Back then, Stallone was struggling to make ends meet, and only acted because he needed to put food on the table. So he sold Winkler the rights to Rocky, on the condition that he'd be cast as Rocky Balboa. Now, at the time, Rocky was quickly becoming one of the greatest sports dramas of all time. In fact, the first Rocky is my all-time favorite sports drama. Then, they made the second one, and it was still great. I liked it. And then, they made a third one, and that's where the franchise went off the rails a bit. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Rocky 3 as much as any fan. Stallone had rock-hard pecs, Clubber Lang was a hilariously one-note villain, and Rocky's bromance with Apollo is still talked about to this day. But it was a narrative mess, and didn't need to be made.
Never been afraid, never gonna break, never halfway.
This is your grandfather.
Rocky IV was Cold War propaganda, where Ivan Drago was a stand-in for the Soviet Union, and Rocky V was just embarrassing. See where I'm going with this? If you're making a sequel, it better stay true to the franchise's roots, and it better need a reason to exist. A lot of unnecessary sequels have ruined good franchises. Like, I'm still not over how they ruined the Die Hard franchise by squeezing every dollar they could out of it. The same goes for Pirates of the Caribbean and Jaws.
I'm sorry it took me so long to come see you.
We're just minutes away from the fight the whole world has been waiting to see. The rematch between Adonis Creed and Victor Drago.
But you know, I kinda understand the impulse to capitalize on anything that's a hit. If it's making you money, why not make more of it, since there's a market for it? And let's even add a spin-off series because we've already got a dedicated fan base, right? Well, according to Stallone, that's what Irwin's doing with Creed and Drago. Oh, did I not mention that there's a Drago spin-off in development? Yeah, that's right. A spin-off of a spin-off of a spin-off. I'm not saying that I'm against Hollywood exploiting a franchise until it's a shadow of what it used to be. I'm just saying maybe don't do it to a franchise that I've loved since I was a kid, and which was introduced to me by my dad because he's loved it since he saw the first one back in '76.
Did you tell her family yet?
Anyway, personal sentiments aside, a sequel should exist either to expand on the original in a way that makes sense for the overall story and lore, or to reintroduce fresh blood into the old one and kickstart it for a new generation of fans. You know, like Top Gun Maverick and Mad Max Fury Road did. The reason they exist is to introduce their stories and characters to a younger audience, and to breathe some life into a franchise that longtime fans thought was dead. It shouldn't exist just because you need a tax write-off or to just cash in on the work of the more superior movies that came before it. So if we're just talking about the Drago spin-off, in Stallone's own words, Irwin's picking the bones clean off of Ivan Drago, a character he created for Rocky IV as a one-note villain, but ended up being one of the franchise's most iconic fighters. And it's not even about the money. Money's a side benefit. It's about a person's creative legacy and what they leave behind for the world once it's all over. Stallone's still open to working with Michael B. Jordan, but not if Irwin's attached to the project. There's just too much bad blood there.
You better.
Yeah. She looks like hell to me.
Since you're going back to hell, you might as well get used to it.
But let's say that Creed 3 comes out swinging and gets an 80+ on Rotten Tomatoes, which honestly, I genuinely hope it does. But if it does, then it has some heavy hitters to contend with. It hits theaters on March 3rd, and I'm sure it'll have a great weekend run domestically.
No. Listen, you want to change things in a big way, and you need to make some big changes.
But then, 65 will release just a week later on the 10th, and I'm betting a lot of folks want to see Adam Driver in a CGI-heavy sci-fi thriller set 65 million years ago. Of course, that's not the biggest fight of Creed 3's life in theaters. 65 is a lightweight compared to the two heavyweights coming just a week or two later, and they'll punch hard, one after the other, and it won't be pretty for Creed's box office numbers. First, there's Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which comes out on March 17th, so that's a big one. And then there's John Wick 4, which releases on the 24th, and it's probably the only reason we've all been waiting for March 2023. Am I right? Both of them have audiences that'll also be into Creed 3, and most of them will have to pick one over the other to spend their money on.
But that's not what he's doing now.
If I'm being completely honest, everyone's budgets are tighter since inflation hit the US. Not everyone can afford 2 trips to the cinema a month anymore. So, if I had to choose between Creed and John Wick, then I'm sorry, but I'm picking Keanu Reeves pulling off insane stunts every time. That's another reason why I think Creed 3 might be a commercial failure in terms of international box office numbers.
All the salt, shiny hair, glowing skin. How far along are you?
I think it'll do okay domestically, since Jonathan Majors is in high demand these days, and because you can watch it in IMAX cinemas. But don't take my word for it. Box Office Pro, a website dedicated to the movie business, predicts that the film's trailers and social media impressions aren't as high as Creed 2, and this shows a pattern of diminishing returns. There's just not enough hype surrounding the movie, at least not as much as the first and second ones. The first one was a huge success because Sly was involved in making it and relied heavily on Rocky's legacy to carry the momentum. The second one did the same, relying on Rocky's most iconic villain, Ivan Drago, to boost hype, because it felt like two of the greatest heavyweights would collide once again the way they did over 30 years ago. And as far as I can tell, Creed 3 is a standalone story of Adonis and Damien, two best friends turned bitter rivals. It's not relying completely on legacy characters, but it is bringing back Ivan's son from the second movie. Oh yeah, that reveal went pretty viral on Twitter recently, and I can't say I'm surprised. Victor's a complex character, and deserves to have his own motivations and goals, rather than being away for his dad to get back some of his old glory. So, is Victor a legacy character because he's Ivan's son? No, he's an original character just like Donnie. But fans of the franchise, especially the older ones, are going to miss Sly Stallone. Part of the reason why Rocky and Creed films were adored by fans is because of his charisma. He's the only guy I could ever see as Rocky Balboa, a man with a heart of gold and a tough chin. Not having him in Creed 3 just feels wrong. I'm not saying Donnie doesn't deserve his own adventures, I'm just saying that Rocky's the Rock he can rely on no matter what. He's an uncle slash father figure slash wise old man who pushes Donnie to his limits. There are rumors that there's a Rocky sequel that continues the franchise and it'll star Sly, so I'm happy about that. I'm gonna watch it for sure, despite what I've said about Hollywood milking franchises. But as far as Creed 3 goes, it's an uphill battle. If it manages to jump those hurdles and tell a meaningful story, then I'll happily eat my own words. Until then, let me know what you think. And also, if you're gonna watch it. I'll see you in the next video.